Every day, this dream shop build moves farther away from being a dream and closer to being an actual shop. I'm trying to think of everything before we close this bad boy up. If I can shove it in a wall or the ceiling, I'm gonna put it in there. Whatever the opposite of an afterthought is, that's exactly what I'm going for. An intentional, well thought out workspace is like a superpower for unlocking creativity. What utilities would you make sure you plan to head for? Let's compare notes and we'll chat at the end. This video is sponsored by Mr. Cool. There are so many things to think about and consider when building a workshop, especially when you're OCD like me. What if I get into blacksmithing? Should I just go ahead and put in 3-phase power? What about compressed air, or dust collection, or a laundry chute, or maybe an intercom system? Ooh, one of those nacho cheese fountains. Now in the last video, we took care of probably the most important utility, and that's electricity. I did manage to get my panel all wired up thanks to my dad and my uncle actually coming up to give me a hand. They of course showed me the ropes on how to do it safely, but also how to do it neatly. Which of course just looks really nice, but is also safe because you now know where everything is and everything's laid out very cleanly. But one thing my uncle, the electrician, pointed out when coming into my shop was that the way I had my lights wired was actually incorrect. So we rewired that, which I didn't catch on film. And in case you're wondering, yes, I did pass my rough electrical after a slight modification of the lights. But in this video, I want to focus on all of the other utilities that I want to bury in either the walls or the ceilings before we get drywall up that are vital to a well-functioning shop. And right off the bat, we've got to check off one of the most important utilities that makes this workshop usable for me as well as for folks using the pool outside. And that is the bathroom and running water. Now, thankfully, there were actual plumbers doing this work and not me fumbling through it. One small bathroom and a couple of hose bibs was a piece of cake for these guys. So now that we got all of the kind of plumbing fixtures set for this bathroom, we've got a sink obviously going here, toilet here, we've got the vents put in for the drains. We've also got this really nice little manifold they got set up here, which goes to all the different water sources, like the hose bibs outside and even the water source for the water jet. But the last amenity that we thought would be kind of nice to have in the shop is actually hot water. So we've got this little point of use hot water heater. This is only 4 gallons. It's not going to provide a lot of hot water, but the reality is I'm probably not going to ever use that much hot water. So in the off chance that we need hot water to maybe scrub something off or just wash our hands, we're going to have that mounted up here. What's cool about those is you can actually plug those into a standard 110 outlet. They don't draw a ton of power, so it's going to be mounted up here and tie into our system. The next consideration is to get the sewer lines run for both the bathroom here as well as the outdoor kitchen, because we're gonna have a little sink out there. The drain and water are actually both going to tie into our house through the basement wall, since we didn't have any easy way to get to the main lines. So this meant digging up yet more of the backyard. It's not actually a huge deal considering we're having a pool put in after this work is done. I figured that making one giant mess at once was easier than making many messes over time. Just turns out it also makes a mess of your bank account. As I was taking some drone shots, I just couldn't help but notice the crazy fall colors, which reminds me that winter is coming. And here's that hole through our basement wall that will tie into our existing drains, which are all conveniently exposed in the unfinished part of our basement. With that tied in and the outdoor sink drain stubbed up, we are ready for business. All right, so the all-important utility of plumbing is now checked off the list. But the next one that I want to make sure I plan for is access into the attic space, which is outside of that room upstairs. Look, no matter how much forethought or planning I put into this, there's gonna be something I wanna do or change or add that I'm gonna need to get into the attic for. So what I've done is actually pre-framed in a little opening for a small door that's gonna go on each of these walls. Now in total, there's 5 of these areas that I could potentially need to get into in the future. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna go ahead and install 5 doors necessarily. I'm gonna install a couple of doors and the ones that I think are probably most useful, but I went and framed in the door anyways, so that if in the future I wanna add a door, I know where it is, I can cut it out, and we're done. I'm hoping this comes in handy if I ever have to go and modify some ducting for dust collection or ventilation later. All right, so the next utility to check off the list, I'm gonna call low voltage wiring, and it includes a very important aspect of any successful workshop, and that is speakers in the ceiling. As I'm getting ready to run this 12 gauge speaker wire, I found myself wondering where to put the speakers and if 2 would even be enough. Hey Siri, how many ceiling speakers should I put in my space?
As a rough guide, for rooms larger than 3 square meters, use 1 pair of ceiling speakers. And for rooms bigger than 5 square meters, 2 pairs of ceiling speakers will offer a more balanced sound.
Okay, 2 pairs. I tried my best to evenly distribute the speaker locations throughout the shop in areas where I know I'll most likely be. We'll get these put in the ceiling after the drywall goes up.
And all of the wires are going to terminate inside of this kind of electronics closet eventually.
Future jam sessions in the shop ensured. The next item to check off the low voltage list is to run some bell wire for the sensors for the garage door. Now this is really tiny gauge wire that's going to run on either side of the garage door for the sensors, for the garage door opener itself, and all of those are going to get run back to where the actual openers are going to sit, which for us is up high on the wall. And the last item on the low voltage to-do list would be network runs. Now this is Cat 6 cable that's capable of power over Ethernet. Because as you'll see later, we're gonna set up our own kind of surveillance system paired to a network access server, which is gonna live in the closet behind me. So I've gotta make runs for this PoE capable Cat 6 cable to all of those locations for the cameras. Plus I'm gonna add some drops in the shop for networking things. Am I gonna need that? I don't know.
I bought 1,000 feet of this stuff, so I decided to make runs to all of the spots that I thought may even have a remote chance at needing it. If I don't end up using them, that's okay. At least it's there. I also tried to avoid having these Cat 6 lines running alongside any power wires. I guess that can interfere with the signal. At this point, who knows? It's black magic to me anyways. And yes, I even made runs for some interior cameras to keep an eye on things while I'm gone, as well as some standard Ethernet ports to plug into if I ever need it. Just like the speaker wires, these Cat 6 runs will all terminate in the closet later.
And now for the next utility, it may just be one of the most important in the shop in terms of comfort at least, and that is heating and cooling the space, aka air conditioning. Every shop I've ever had up to this point has either been really hot in the summer or really cold in the winter, which sucks for me from a comfort perspective, but also really sucks for my tools from a humidity perspective. So for those reasons, I'm gonna go with a 2-zone ductless mini split system from Mr. Cool, which is the sponsor of today's video. The main 24,000 BTU air handler is gonna sit here, and that's gonna service this 1,000 square feet of the main shop area. Now most air handlers for mini split systems mount up high on the wall, and in the main shop area, that's not gonna be a big deal. But in the upstairs attic area where wall space and ceiling height are at a premium, I'm gonna put in one of Mr. Cool's ceiling cassette units. This is just one of the many cool options that Mr. Cool offers for do-it-yourselfers. Now, if you're like me, your first thought when it comes to air conditioning your shop is, that sounds complicated and expensive. But this is where Mr. Cool really has changed the game. They've come out with a variety of systems that anybody can install themselves. You don't need a licensed HVAC technician. And this is all thanks to their patented pre-charge quick connect line sets. That's right, all of the refrigerant you need for your system is contained in the line set itself. So after you make your final connections and open everything up, you're pretty much ready to rock. Now the ceiling unit I'm putting in the attic is aptly called the out of sight, because once it's installed, it's pretty much flush with the ceiling. And it's got this really cool retractable filter so that you can easily get to it and clean it whenever you need to. And these are small enough to fit between standard 16-inch floor joist spacing, which means you can pretty much put them anywhere. Now I'm obviously choosing to install some components before drywall, but all of the DIY Mr. Cool systems are actually intended to be installed afterwards. So you can retrofit any space, like your existing garage. So if you're tired of working in that sweat box or just wearing too many layers in your shop, get comfortable today by heading to MrCoolDIY.com. It's cheaper than you think, and it's really not hard to do in an afternoon. And just so we're ahead of the game, I'm gonna go ahead and get the refrigerant line and the power run all the way from that out of sight unit, which is mounted up in the ceiling over here, through the ceiling to the other side, which is gonna pop out and then run down to the outdoor unit. Just get it knocked out so we don't have to worry about it later. Mr. Cool offers these line sets in different lengths depending on your space's needs. For my attic, I needed a 50-foot line set. The power for this mini split is handled through this whip cable that they also provide, so again, just getting that fish through the attic trusses. The connection is made dead simple because everything is numbered and there are actually connectors attached. With the covers replaced, all that's left besides the refrigerant lines is the condensate drain. I have to provide a place for the condensed water to drain, so I got this knocked out with some 3/4 inch and 1 inch PVC. Now you may be looking at this setup and thinking, aren't drains supposed to be downhill? Well, these ceiling units have a built-in condensate pump for just this reason. So any water that collects is pumped up, across, and down and out. Over in the attic utility room, I'm gonna put in a couple more drains while I'm at it. I'm making sure to keep everything slightly sloped downhill as I go though. After dry fitting everything, I go back and glue up all the joints, because leaking drain piping kind of defeats the purpose of putting piping here all together to catch the water. Now, one of these drains will be for my air compressor and the other for a small point of use hot water heater.
99% of the time, these drains won't be draining anything, but having them here and checked off the list is a good feeling.
And the next item on the docket is ducting. Now this is low pressure stuff. This would not be good for dust collection, but it would be great for ventilation, which is what I've got planned for the shop in the attic. And this relatively inexpensive snap type ducting is gonna be perfect for this application. So I've already got a 6-inch vent in place in the roof, and the plan is to use a high powered fan and route this ducting through the shop to a central location that I can use for extracting fumes or even to control smells and maybe a small paint booth. This is one of those things that I'm not totally sure I'm gonna use, but I'm gonna go ahead and plan for anyways. And because I would much rather see no ducting on the outside of the walls, I'm gonna get all of this buried in the ceiling and then just leave it stubbed out in the attic because I'm not quite sure where it would drop down just yet.
The big box stores sell this stuff in 5-foot sections most commonly, so I'm doing as much assembly on the ground as I can, starting with self-tapping screws around the perimeter of all joints, and then covering with aluminum tape, which I also used along the long seams of each duct segment. Now, to temporarily hold up this ducting, I'm using some of this woven support webbing spanned across the truss joists. This made sliding it into place easy enough and was plenty strong while I got everything situated. After getting some more sections put together, I started to realize that I'm gonna have to come back and secure this duct before drywall since it's hanging down quite a bit more than I thought it would. But for now, this will work, and I was able to get all of the straight runs through the ceiling done and in place. I'm gonna hold off on the final connections in the attic for now. Because we've got built-in access for that later. Remember?
Now that we've got that low pressure ducting run through the ceiling, that checks ventilation off the list. The next consideration to think about is, of course, dust collection. Now my dust collector is gonna sit right here in the corner in this upper attic utility room, and that's gonna do two things. One, it's gonna kind of get it up out of the way and hopefully shield some of the sound, but it also makes running dust collection really easy because I'm already up in the attic. So because I don't know exactly where the tool placement's gonna go and how the ductwork is actually gonna fit in here, I'm gonna actually hold off on running any dust collection ducting because it's gonna be easy enough even after drywall's up. So really that leaves just one final utility, and one that I'm actually pretty excited about. And that is a compressed air system throughout the shop that I'm actually gonna hide within the walls. Now the product I'm using is called MaxLine by Rapid Air. And you can buy kits like this that come with all the components to retrofit a shop, whether you have drywall up already or you want to bury it behind the wall. Now the cool thing about these, they come in a variety of sizes and configurations to match your shop setup. Now I don't use a ton of air tools, and I have a fairly small compressor that I'm going to put in that upper attic room, so this 1/2-inch line kit is going to be perfectly fine for me. But they make kits all the way up to 1 inch for enormous compressors and auto body shops that use a bunch of air tools. And I spent a ton of time researching options for running air lines in my walls, everything from brazing copper tubing, expensive, to all kinds of knockoff kits with names I can't pronounce on Amazon. Sketchy. And after really digging in, I think Rapid Air is kind of the one to go with. Now I did reach out to Rapid Air and they were kind enough to send me this to use in my shop, so thank you for that. But installation should be pretty simple. So let's do it.
Of course, just as I'm getting started, a massive order of interior finishing supplies shows up, which were deceivingly heavy. But after getting these depalletized and moved out of the way and recruiting help unloading the drywall, we eventually got it all situated and eventually moved it into the garage. Okay, now for the air system. The tubing shows up in rolls which need to be straightened to install. This semi-flexible MaxLine tubing is actually a thin aluminum pipe coated in HDPE, or high-density polyethylene, designed to hold air pressure and resist oils sometimes found in compressed air systems. This is not PEX. Please don't use PEX for air systems. And because of that aluminum piping core, this stuff can be kind of a bear to straighten, which is why I went ahead and picked up this adjustable tubing straightener. I whipped up this little mount that I temporarily screwed to the ground, which should hopefully make straightening these tubing runs easier. So here goes nothing. This definitely took some getting used to, since this tubing seems to have a lot of elastic memory and wants to return to the curved shape that it started in. I found a combination of hand straightening as much as I could, cutting to the length that I needed, and then running it through the rollers actually worked best. But I guess first I should talk a little bit about my plan for the air system in my shop. The key with installing a compressed air system is to try to incorporate a main loop or a ring around your space. This helps reduce the overall pressure drop, increases airflow, and allows for multiple tools to be used at once. The plan for my shop is to use 3/4 inch MaxLine as the header loop around the perimeter of the attic space, shown here in green, and then at each air outlet location, in orange, I will drop down to 1/2 inch MaxLine through the wall or the ceiling. The loop will then tie into the attic utility room where my compressor will sit. So the first order of business is to get that main 3/4 inch header loop run. Sometimes easier said than done, as this stuff can be a little unwieldy to deal with. These tubing clips are a great way to help wrestle it into place though. In some cases, I found it easier to get the fittings installed on the ground before putting the tubing in place. This is a 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch reduction tee, which will be for one of the planned airdrops. The first thing you do is bevel the inside of each tubing end with the included reaming tool. Pushing and turning as you go, make sure that the tubing end is circular and the blade actually creates a small bevel on the inside edge to allow the fitting to easily slide in. Then you remove the nut and split ring from the fitting and slide it over the end of the tubing. Before inserting the fitting, which you can see is barbed with 2 O-rings, fully seat the tubing and then slide the split ring and nut over the end and tighten. I continued adding 3/4 inch line around my shop, making sure to add the reduction T-fittings in all of the areas where I knew I wanted an air outlet. The cool thing about this type of system is adding another air outlet would be really easy. Just depressurize the system, cut out a section, and install a fitting wherever you need it. The longest continuous run of 3/4 inch tubing was this one, and it was a bit like wrestling an anaconda while on a ladder. Those pipe clips came in extremely handy here to at least hold it while I got the other section secured. If you want to do something like this in your shop, be sure to check the video description. I'll have everything linked down there. Once the main loop was done, I went around and added my 1/2 inch air drops through the top plates of my walls. The 1/2 inch line is so much easier to deal with, and to be honest, I could have just done 1/2 inch for everything. I really need to stop trying to over-engineer stuff. These air drops will have an elbow fitting and a short section of hose sticking straight out of the wall that I can tie into later. I did end up adding one air outlet in the ceiling for a retractable air hose reel overhead. Who knows if I'll end up using this, but it's gonna be nice to have it just in case. In total, I ran around 100 feet of 3/4 inch line and 50 feet of 1/2 inch line to 5 air outlets in the walls and 1 in the ceiling. Now, I don't use a ton of compressed air in the shop normally, but having something like this helps future-proof this place a bit if that changes down the road. I am, of course, going to pressure test this thing before covering it all up, just in case you're wondering.
Boy, does it feel good to check the last item off the list. The compressed air system is now done. That is except, of course, the ends of each of the drops in the walls and the ceiling. For those, I'm going to add one of these air outlets, which allows me to quickly connect a tool to and from and will be flush mounted to the wall. So before drywall goes up, I'm going to add a piece of blocking at each of those places where one of these is going to sit. That way they're mounted really securely so that if I'm tugging on it with an air hose, it's not going to rip off the wall. And then at the other end of the system where the compressor sits, I'm going to get a regulator set up, a shutoff valve so that I can isolate it and add things if I need to later. Overall, the air system was actually really easy to install. I was able to knock out my entire shop in about a day. And that's with 6 air drops, 5 in the walls and 1 in the ceiling. If you were retrofitting on top of drywall, it would be even faster. So with each of those items now checked off my list, I feel like I'm now at a place where we can get insulation and drywall on this thing. But I'm curious, is there anything I forgot or I should think about? I'd love to hear those down in the comments. And based on what you can see behind me, there's a bunch of other stuff going on. We got exterior finishes going up, we got a pool being put in, tons of stuff to update you on, but you got to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those. With that, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep pursuing shop greatness.